What's up and welcome back to another video. Channel is still running. This is going to be the first in a series of videos I have dubbed Last Night I Watched, where I watch a movie, sleep on it, and then give my unfiltered impressions / review the next day. So without further ado, let's get right into it. Hunt for the Wilderpeople is a film by Taika Waititi starring Sam Neill and Julian Dennison that revolves around the manhunt for a kid and his uncle who go missing in the New Zealand bush. That's basically as simple as I can make it without giving anything away. You might know Taika Waititi from his other films like What We Do in the Shadows, Thor Ragnarok, and the most recent Jojo Rabbit, or from the recent Academy Awards where he won an Oscar for Best Adapted Screenplay. If you're a fan of any of those movies, you'll be right at home here. In fact, I don't know why it took me so long to see it, because the movie came out in 2016. So I figured why not make this video and spread the word so that hopefully other people will seek it out. What really impressed me about this film was the amount of heart it had. I was under the impression that it was just going to be a comedy. I hadn't seen any trailer for it. I'd only heard good things in the past couple of years, so I wasn't sure what exactly to expect. But what I got was actually kind of a touching story. The central focus of the film is on the relationship between a rebellious kid and his foster uncle, and the sort of crazy circumstances they end up throwing themselves in after something happens to them. And while the movie is actually really funny, it's also heartwarming. And it was a very interesting blend of tone that Taika Waititi accomplished. Sam Neill, who plays the foster uncle, who you might recognize from the Jurassic Park movies, did a really good job in this film. I was kind of shocked to see the level of acting. Not that he was bad in Jurassic Park or anything else I've seen him in, but he really disappeared into the role. I didn't really think of Jurassic Park or anything while I was watching it. And his character really plays off of Julian Dennison's character nicely. They have a nice interplay. They're not always on the same side, but they make it work. And it's very interesting to watch unfold. One of the biggest positives of this movie is that I didn't know where it was going. Where normally when you watch a movie, you can probably guess what the ending is going to be halfway in. As the story progressed, it just got more and more unpredictable, which is a good thing because it works with Taika's humor and how he presents the events that are going on. In fact, a lot of the editing kind of blew me away. There were moments where he would like take the camera and then revolve it as if it was just turning around and around, but it stitched together different shots and it looked seamless. And I was very taken aback by that because I wasn't expecting to see some kind of crazy editing. And it didn't take me out of the movie, it sort of added to the experience. And there's a lot of great cinematography in this film, especially of the shots, the overhead shots and the landscapes of New Zealand. While I was watching, I was trying to think of how he would go about writing that in the script, or how he as the director would come about a decision to stitch together scenes like that. And it was just very interesting to think about as the movie went on. Because perhaps the greatest strength here is the direction. You could tell it's just so deliberate and thoughtful, and that he put a lot of work, and there were a lot of creative choices that had to be made a certain way for this movie to work. And I think he really accomplished his goal. But I think to the same effect, the performance by Julian Dennison in this film as Ricky, the rebellious kid, was pivotal to the enjoyment of the film. Because if you don't like him, it's kind of like, well, why am I watching? You know, like, what's the point? Even though he's rough around the edges, he still has this likability to him, and he really is just a kid who got screwed over by the foster care system in New Zealand. So you really feel for what's going on with him. And I think they set that up really well in the beginning, so that you actually care about these two characters as they go on their like adventure. As far as things that kind of threw me off a little bit, there's one character in the film who is kind of a bit too outlandish. It kind of works with the story because the whole thing is kind of like a heightened reality. But at the same time, there were still some scenes in the movie that the character felt a little weird, like out of place, because they kind of act in a way that you wouldn't normally think of a person of that nature to act. I don't really want to say who they are in the film, just so that you guys can go in as blind as possible, like I did, because I think that's the best way to enjoy this film. Other than that character, the only other thing that stood out to me as far as things that were sort of out of place was the ending. The ending was a little strange. I felt like certain plot lines were wrapped up a bit too easily. But at the same time, the movie knows what it is, and it's not really about the journey so much in this film, as much as the relationship between a boy and his foster uncle, and them coming together. And overall, I'd say I would definitely recommend you watch this movie because Taika Waititi is such an interesting director. And in this movie, you really see things that haven't been in his other films, which is why I was so surprised to see the certain cinematography and editing choices in this one. And it's kind of like a weird, like, pseudo Wes Anderson type movie. For me, this movie was an 8 out of 10. It was well acted. There was great cinematography. I liked the editing, which I normally don't notice in a film. And it's honestly one of Taika's best films. So if you have the opportunity to see it, I definitely recommend it. Check it out wherever you can find it. I'm hoping to add a lot to this series because I think I'm going to focus on a lot of movies that are not well known, sort of like smaller movies, because there are a lot of movies I've seen that really don't have much critical acclaim or didn't do well at the box office and were like smaller independent films that I think should be talked about. So if you're interested in other movies like that, you could subscribe, I guess. As always, you do you. If you have any suggestions for a movie you think I should watch or talk about on the channel, you can leave a comment below. If you want to, you can like this video if you liked it. If you didn't, that's okay too. And yeah, you can follow me on these platforms if you like. And then, yeah, that's it for me. So I'll see you guys in the next one.